Oh, okay. Well, hey, Caesar Light.
Yeah.
I'm Artie Spartan, and G1 Pony sucked. Cool.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely sure.
What do you think of the original My Little Pony cartoon, My Little Pony and Friends?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Curious?
Well, let's give it a go. Say I did.
Start with the first one, Rescue in Midnight Castle, because it's actually darker than Friendship is Magic. No joke. Go see it.
Andy's cartoon, I can actually believe that.
I don't really have an opinion about it. I know it just big toys. The art style was the most appealing thing about it, from what I can gather. But I understand why people like it, the toy collectors and stuff. But I'm kind of like, I really believe animation should have more to that than just selling toys. I mean, and I think that this is just kind of a testament to that.
Well, newsflash, this generation does the exact same thing.
Yeah, but we do it better.
If you say so. What do you think of the original My Little Pony cartoon, G1?
G1? I haven't watched much of G1, so I probably couldn't get my opinion on it.
Plan to?
I don't know. Probably not.
Well, you're missing out. G1 My Little Pony. Have you seen it?
I'm old enough to have seen it when it came out. So I was very, very young. Don't remember it very well. I was kind of a tomboy, so it wasn't really my thing. But yeah, I know a lot of G1 collectors that are really awesome girls.
Yeah, who's your favorite, if you know one?
I don't remember their name. I'm sorry.
Mine easily is Fizzy.
Oh, she was the, yes. And one of my friends really likes Munchie. She had like hot dogs and hamburgers and things.
Mine is Fizzy because that's actually what Minuet reminds me of. Minuet reminds me of Fizzy. And that's why I like her so much.
Makes sense.
How much do you know about the original My Little Pony cartoon, the Generation 1?
Very little, like bits and pieces. I know there was a human named Megan. Mm-hmm. I know there was a dragon named Spike, and that there are some characters that are kind of analogous. You know, I know about Sombra and Grogar in concept and the Smooths in concept, but a lot of my knowledge now comes from looking things up online.
What do you think of the original G1 My Little Pony cartoon? Have you seen it?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but the show, well, the way I see it is it was the start, in a sense. So it has a lot of merit, in a sense, just for being the first, I guess.
Any curiosity in seeing any more of it?
If someone wants, it forces me to watch it, or unless I choose to watch it. So there you go.
So what do you remember of it that you've seen?
Pretty much just the first episode.
Rescue in Midnight Castle?
Pretty much, and then maybe like...
It is the best. It is pretty much the best one.
And then pretty much maybe like one other episode that I may have seen that could have been from G1, but I do not remember them that well.
I understand.
So,
yeah.
Have you ever been to the My Little Pony Fairy Convention?
I've heard of it. My friend has.
It is the only that I know of G1 through G4 collector convention, and it's really
I know,
fun
and I wish I could go, but it's.
collectors.
I wish I could go someday, but it's just too far.
Well, it was in Chicago last year.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that, but I just don't have the funds to do that.
Maybe next year.
Maybe we'll see.
It's cheaper than most cars.
What do you think of the original G1 My Little Pony cartoon?
Well, I've seen a little bit of the G1 My Little Pony cartoon, and from what I've seen, it has charm. It's a very charming cartoon. It has, its own style. It's trying to go for its own thing. It's trying to sell toys. I get that. It's an 80s thing. I would like to see more of it. I just haven't had the time.
What do you think of the original G1 My Little Pony cartoon, if you've seen it?
I remember seeing the one where the whole world was on fire. That was the actual...
Oh, are you talking about the magic coins?
I don't remember the titles, but...
Well, if it involves Dream Valley catching on fire, then yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I liked it.
Unless you're thinking of the end of Flood Valley, where the sunstone causes the forest to start burning up. That could be another.
All I remember is my cousin had it on VHS, so... Does that make sense?
Yeah. Were there any giant bees in it?
No.
Then it was the Magic Coins. That's good, because Magic Coins is actually one of the better episodes of the series, so good on you. Have you seen the original G1 My Little Pony cartoon? Okay, what'd you think? What have you seen?
I like Scorpion. I like him a lot. I like Tyrek. Really cool characters. They hinted at Scorpion in G4, and I hope that they bring him back.
I'm still holding up for that too. I was expecting him in season 5, and that didn't happen. I was expecting him in season 6, and that didn't happen. So I'm just going to assume they forgot about it.
I'm still waiting to see this.
G1 had only one zebra too.
Did G1 have a zebra?
Yeah, one. An anthropomorphic zebra. Zeb.
You're right. Scorpion. I hope they have a Scorpion.
Yeah, we're all hoping. Have you seen the original My Little Pony cartoon?
Which one? Like
the G1.
Yes.
What did you think? What'd you see?
We did a riff of it at BronyCon. I thought it was the most delightful thing I've ever seen.
What do you think of the original My Little Pony cartoon, the G1?
I mean, I think it's fine as like an 80s cartoon. Like, it's kind of generic in like all the other 80s cartoons, like He-Man and Gem and everything. I mean, I thought it was alright.
How much have you seen?
I've seen like the first special, the second, the movie, a few of the cartoons. I haven't seen the entire series, but I've seen like bits of it.
What do you think of the original My Little Pony cartoon, G1?
Are you talking about the Nightmare at something castle?
Rescue at Midnight Castle. That's included.
That's
true
only
too.
seen that first original episode, and it felt really dated because it's from the 80s, and also I was never really a big pony fan for G4, so I thought that it probably was good for its time for girls, but it clearly didn't have a wider audience, so I think that's why this new generation has such a larger fandom.
Thank you, Internet. Okay, let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to looking back at Generation 1 My Little Pony, specifically the show, My Little Pony and Friends from the 1980s. I am, as you can see up there, I am Doughboy123X on YouTube, and I'm also known as Sazerlight on DeviantArt. On DeviantArt, I just make I'm still a newbie artist, I'm still getting the hang of things, and on my YouTube channel, I just make general nonsense that somehow calculates into hilarity. So, there's me, and my co-host here is Al1701. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Al1701, and I actually made an entire review series of My Little Pony and Friends.
Right, yep, that he did. And my third co-host, someone you might recognize, is Starbat, the artist. Introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Starbat. I mainly have activity on DeviantArt where I do various My Little Pony fan art, some of which is G1, and I've made a number of character sheets related to G1 characters in the G4 style.
And you have no idea how helpful that was for me.
No problem.
Okay, so let's move on. This is about, like I said before, My Little Pony and Friends, specifically this show. There is another show, My Little Pony Tales, but we're not really going to talk about that right now. That will be for another time, because it's a completely different show. So, okay, quick question. How many of you have seen this show? Raise your hands if you've seen it. Only you've seen a little bit of it? All right. Well, this ought to be interesting, because according to... From what I'm seeing, nobody has seen the show outside of one who has seen some of it. So this should be fun. So we have 4 categories to go through today. Ponies, allies, the world and its lore, and of course the villains. So first off, we're going into ponies. And it's kind of amazing. This show had over 100 ponies over the course of its run. Like, it is interesting. The Friendship is Magic has fewer characters, but they're given more focus. This show has a lot more characters, but not quite as much focus. So pick what you might prefer. So let's go on to the... I know this is Al1701's favorite pony. Is this one your favorite, Starbat? Right here. Can you tell me who this is?
Windwhistler.
Yep, this is Windwhistler. You a fan of? I guess there really is no denying it. Al1701 just considers her best pony across all generations.
So she's one of the best developed characters that this show has to offer, and best treated, I think.
Yep. There's sorry. She, as you can tell from here, she's very intelligent, brave, reserved. She has a very high vocabulary. She's
very logical in the way she speaks, and she speaks over the head of all of the other characters a lot of the time.
Yep.
And that's what makes her. That's been played for humor in some places, and it's also interesting because it also creates some conflict, especially in one particular episode we may be discussing, where she is treated in a way that, like, she's told that she doesn't have emotions, and that's a big, internal struggle for her, the way she's perceived.
Yep.
She's a complex character.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the more adult characters on the show. Anything you guys say, Al?
Yeah. Frankly, she's probably the character that made me a fan of My Little Pony in the first place. And along with being very logical, she was also one of the braver ponies. In fact, she put her own life in danger multiple times to save Megan, her fellow ponies, and heck, even a single bush woolly was, to her, worth the trouble of risking her life.
Oh, yeah. It is amazing. And we'll be talking about her most prominent episode, Crunch the Rock Top, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later on. Let's move on to my personal favorite pony, and that is Fizzy. Ain't she adorable?
Yes.
Oh, Fizzy, Fizzy, Fizzy. As you can see here, she's very optimistic, naive, a little bit of a scatterbrained. She's really much a child. Like, you know the whole old saying, a child at heart? Fizzy is the embodiment of that. She's just so likable. She's just so sweet. She just always wants to cheer you up. And one interesting to note is that I assume all of you have seen Amending Fences, the Friendship is Magic episode, right? The character Minuet. When I saw her, I'm like, is that Fizzy? Because she acts just like her. And a lot of people really liked Minuet, so I assume a lot of people really like Fizzy too, because she has a very similar personality. And is a unicorn on top of that. And why is she called Fizzy? Well, two reasons. One, her cutie mark is root beer floats, which is odd, but it works. And her magic, and that's one thing I should probably get to right away right now. Unicorn magic in this series is not quite as anyone can learn this, anyone can learn that. No, it's more personal. Like Fizzy's magic is specifically to create bubbles to fit her bubbly personality. And I could go on and on how I love her so much. I love her design both back then and in fan interpretations. This one was made by Ismafia, who's a great artist. Anything to comment on, Starbat?
Just for your point about how not all unicorns can do telekinesis like they can in the G4 series. That's like a very special ability that only one or a couple unicorns can do, and Fizzy in particular has a form of telekinesis that allows her to make bubbles and not really much else. And then part of her endearing character is that sometimes she can't even control that ability.
Yep.
So.
And you guys say anything, Al? And I know you want to say something involving her and her supposedly best friend.
Well, to start with, she doesn't seem to have full control of her magic, which suggests that not only is she a child at heart, but perhaps she's in fact the youngest of the adult ponies. Heck, maybe even like a teenager.
An adolescent?
Yeah, a late adolescent. Because also the voice actor who provided her voice, Katie Leigh, she gave her a voice that's similar to her more youthful characters like Sunny Gummy on the Gummy Bears and Sheila on Dungeons and Dragons, both of whom were meant to be teenagers. And also, yes, throughout the series, one of the more common pairings was Wind Whistler and Fizzy, who seem to play off each other very well because you have Fizzy, who's sweet and naive and has a childlike view of the world, and then you have Wind Whistler, who has obviously a more logical and utilitarian view of the world. And they played off each other very well, and you could almost see that there was perhaps more of a friendship between those two than any other two ponies living in Paradise Estate.
Yeah, so she's my favorite, and as you can see right there, she's a twinkle-eyed unicorn, which a twinkle-eyed pony is, simply put, is a pony who has gemstones for eyes rather than just normal eyes, and that was mostly just done for the sake of toy sales, but I think it could be explored more. Sadly, the show doesn't dive into it that much, but what'd you say, the comics do?
Yeah, there's a whole backstory there.
Oh yes, yes. Unfortunately, I won't be talking about the comics much. I'm mostly just focusing on the show. But from what I've heard from my two friends here, there's quite a lot of content in the comics that unfortunately were only in the UK. So moving on to another really fun pony, in my opinion, Gusty. You want to start this one off, Starbat?
Sure. Well, yeah, she's sort of the tough guy of the pony group. I remember her being voiced by Nancy Cartwright, who many people will recognize. She's also the voice of Bart Simpson, and she voiced a number of ponies here on the show, actually. But you can almost hear the Bart Simpson in the voice of Gusty when you hear Gusty speak, and so that's interesting. And yeah, Gusty, she got herself into trouble a number of times because of her brash nature. She's almost like if Rainbow Dash is a unicorn, that's what Gusty would be.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. Most people think of Firefly when they think of a Rainbow Dash, but honestly, Gusty reminds me more of Rainbow Dash. More brash, a bit more short-sighted, but also very skilled and very, I guess you could say powerful in some ways. And her magic, implied by her name, obviously, is that she has wind magic. She can blow things. Don't take that out of context, please. So yeah, that's Gusty. And you mentioned Nancy Cartwright. Every time I hear Bart Simpson on The Simpsons, I just think of Gusty. Usually it's the other way around for most people. So shall we move on?
Yep.
Or you got anything to say, Al?
Well, I think you just about said it.
Yep.
But yeah, she was definitely the.
Oh, sorry.
If people are familiar with the warp trope, it seems like to show situations serious, they would have the threat go after Gusty. Like she was the first one smooth, crunch a rock, turned her to stone, etc., so forth. It's like, yeah, she was the tough guy, but
I should put brave in the personality, because she is. She does not hold back on anything.
No, she doesn't. And also the Rainbow Dash comparison, she's not quite as self-absorbed as Rainbow Dash is.
Not quite. She's a lot more noble, in my opinion.
Yeah, but still.
But still gets an over her head.
Her nobility.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, all right, moving on to an interesting character, in my opinion, is Shady. It's according to the comics, you could really go into some dark places with this character, considering what she does. Do you want to handle this one, Al? Because I'm not sure what to say on this one.
Yeah, sure. Talk about a big difference between the comics and the television show. In comics, she has magic sunglasses that either can create illusions or sometimes can pierce through illusions, but again, that's the comic. In the movie and television series,
she's very pessimistic. She always she always focuses on the worst case scenario and everything.
Yeah, she was the worrier of the group. But the thing is, she would take the worrying up to 11. And it wasn't just about what was performing as a group, it was also her doubt of her own personal abilities.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like Fluttershy, actually.
A little bit. You could say that her special talent was preparing for the worst, but she couldn't very easily hope for the best either.
Yeah.
Moving on to Paradise.
A quick note, the first four ponies we just finished talking about are to be thought of as kind of the main four of the series, in my opinion.
Starbat, Al, and myself kind of consider Wind Whistler, Fizzy, Gusty, and Shady to sort of be the primary E4. I came up with that pun. And the rest are sort of secondary characters, and we're going to start getting into that now. Paradise is as you can tell, she loves to read stories. She likes fantasy and she just loves fiction and she loves to learn about it. If you want someone that, if she were a brony, she would just be all about headcanons and such and fan theories. That's what she's all about. So, interesting idea for a character. Got anything to say? Anything else to say on her?
Well, along with fiction, she is well versed in real legends and lore. This was particularly important in the episode we're trying to handle on, as she was the one who knew about all of the legends regarding it. But she also, but her biggest weakness is sometimes she can get too wrapped up in fantasy, and it kind of shows in her.
She's not a realist.
Yeah, and it shows up in her aversion for work, and also she's actually one of the weaker players among the Pegasus, which was made apparent in another episode.
She's a little out of shape.
This one is a little strange to me, and that's Galaxy. I really do have a hard time describing her character, to be honest, because hers is very nebulous, pun not intended.
Yeah, she's sort of a kind of an impromptu leader of the group, although there are a couple of ponies that fall into that category. But she's sort of intuitive, got an air of wisdom around her, and she's got magic on her horn that allows her to generate heat. And that's what's important, at least one episode I can think of.
Yeah. She is important to the series, but let's just say she doesn't have a bombastic personality. She's very reserved. She's very what's the word? Relaxed, more like, I wouldn't say laid back, but definitely more reserved and more practical.
Yeah.
So, next one is going to be a lot of fun. Heartthrob, a.k.a. the shipping pony. That's pretty much her. She is all about that. She loves love stories. She's looking for someone to love, and she loves to see. Yeah, how many times can I say love in this section? She has hearts as a cutie mark. What else do you need? And much like Rarity, she says "darling" quite a lot, to almost an equal amount. So she does have a very, very cringeworthy moment in the series, but I'll get to that when we get to the episodes. Anything else you two want to say on Shipper Pony?
I think you pretty much said everything without me getting into the other thing you were talking about, I think.
Yeah, she's not the most in-depth character, but she definitely is fun to watch.
Yeah.
So, all right, next, North Star. The thing I remember her most is for having a British accent, to be honest. But I think you may have something to say, Al.
Yeah. Well, North Star, she had quite a few moments throughout the series. The writer's guide said that it is impossible for her to get lost. Her sense of direction is so finely attuned, which makes her the natural explorer of the group. And it would have been nice if they could use that more to their advantage with more trips throughout the world instead of being The series, I think, may have hampered her because the basic setup is something happens, the ponies have to react to it and find a resolution. They don't really go out as much just to do it.
Yeah.
But
if the creators had put more focus on building a coherent world that ponies might want to explore, then North Star would be a more prominent and important character, because that would be her thing. Her special talent would be exploring the world and not getting lost while doing it, and remembering different places.
Yeah. Two things I should note. One, the art that you see to the right is Starbat's art, actually, and you'll see more of his work throughout this panel. Thank you again, Starbat.
No problem.
And second thing to note is that the voice, you're wondering why are there two voice actresses? Well, it's because some voices were only in the movie but did not carry over to the series. Kathy Kevadani did the movie, right?
Yes.
But B.J. Ward took her place in the series. So just to note that. Next is Truly. Just to warn you, if any of you do not like Applejack's accent in Friendship is Magic, you may not like Truly, because she also has a very strong Southern accent. And she also has a kind of a similar personality, very stubborn, but also very supportive and determined, and just sort of a no-nonsense persona to her behavior. So, yeah, I always found her cutie mark to be interesting. It's a dove with just surrounded by hearts. I always found it to be kind of interesting. And so, yeah, any comments on that?
No, she's got a flair for fashion too, so she's kind of like a mixture of Applejack with a bit of rarity in there too.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, truly, it's like I'm thinking of the episode with the Dinah, the dog. Where she, I feel like her thing is saying things that are emotionally true, or being able to. I'm not sure how to express that exactly, and that's where her name comes from.
Yeah, very truly.
Right.
So, huh?
I was just about to say, there is a big difference between Truly's accent and Applejack's accent. Applejack's accent is supposed to be more reminiscent of a Texas accent, while Truly's is definitely supposed to be more of a deep South,
Louisiana
Georgia,
stuff.
South Carolina.
Louisiana.
Georgia, South Carolina.
New Orleans.
They get gone with the wind. They get gone with the wind when you try to think of the kind of accent Truly has.
I still haven't seen that movie. Moving on. Surprise! You all know who her. How many of you actually? I don't think any of you don't know who this is. For all those who don't know, which I'm sure is very few, she was the inspiration for Pinkie Pie in Friendship is Magic. And just think Pinkie Pie with wings, and you got surprise. Only maybe not quite as over the top as Pinkie. The surprise is, well, as implied by her name, she likes to surprise people. She likes to jump behind people. She's kind of like Al would say, like Al here would say. She's kind of like Tigger. She just likes to just startle people just for laughs. Surprise is quite literally her character. So, yeah. It's kind of ironic that I honestly think, it is kind of interesting to see it. So, anything for you to comment?
Well, the way that she's presented the show, she's not quite as random as Pinkie Pie is. She just seems to laugh at a lot of different things, which can be a little bit annoying, personally. But other than that, she's a pretty likable character.
Yeah.
There always seems to be a chuckle tickling her throat whenever she speaks. But yeah, I think we basically covered it. She's a pony who loves surprises.
Yep. Moving on to Sweet Stuff. This is an interesting character because she's probably more unlucky and more unfortunate than Shady is, and yet she has a much more positive and a calm attitude. Again, a little bit like Fluttershy, actually. She's just really... She's just sweet. There's just not much else to say. She's just... Many things don't go her way, but she does accept it. Like there was a time in which she played a game of tag with a bunch of unicorns, but she could not win because she has no magic. She can't teleport or anything. And eventually the unicorns actually offer her, we'll make a rule not to do magic to make it fair for you. But she was like, no, that's okay. I don't want to ruin your fun. So I think she's very admirable in that sense. So.
Well, again, getting to the point of how G4 actually spends more time focusing on a small number of characters and actually gives them character development.
Yep.
Fluttershy has evolved a bit over the course of the G4 series.
Oh, very much. They've had 6 seasons under their belt.
Yes. Season 1 would be like season 1 Fluttershy, because she's a pushover.
Yeah.
Just really, she always defers to the opinions of others and doesn't know how to stand up for herself. And that's kind of a character flaw, which actually makes Lisa one of the more interesting characters, actually, because she has that flaw that, she has to kind of deal with in at least one episode that I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has her own episode, Sweet Stuff in the Treasure Hunt. There are, I should let all of you know this. For all those who are curious about G1, if you love the very detailed character interactions and more slice of life stuff in Friendship is Magic, you may not like the series quite as much because it's definitely much more adventure based. So I should let that you know that if you like adventure, if you like the adventurous stuff and action and new worlds and stuff in Friendship is Magic, you'll probably like the show quite a bit because it's got quite a lot to offer actually. So take that however you will. So shall we move on?
Sure.
All right. Posey, aka the inspiration for Fluttershy. Ironically, even though she does have some personality traits to Fluttershy, she's not exactly like her. There are definitely some differences. One of the key differences is that Fluttershy is a caretaker of animals. Posey is a caretaker of her garden. So that's a very key difference because there are scenes in which she will even drive critters or pests or bugs away from her flowers for the sake of them. So anything much to comment? Because she's had a couple noteworthy appearances in the series. But again, it's kind of like Surprise. She doesn't have a very deep... yes, you have something to say?
Is it like Fluttershy's mom?
It's been hinted... It is interesting. I think Mrs. Shy in Flutterbrudder, honestly, when that episode was coming out, I was wondering, are they going to bring Posey into this? But it turns out no. But I could tell that she probably was inspired by Posey because her mother is a gardener. So that's interesting to note. Any other comments?
She had, like most of these ponies, she had one really good episode dedicated to her that I thought.
The Fugitive Flowers was a pretty good episode for her. Yeah, definitely go check that out if you can. Though, we'll discuss that a little bit more. Magic Star is, I think, the last one of the sort of focused cast. There are other characters, but we'll go them a little more quickly. Anything to say on Magic Star?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, it's interesting, she really didn't have very much focus, but one episode really established that she is the leader of Paradise Estate because she was the one who was dictating chores and seemed to have the last say on all important decisions. But other than that, she didn't have much of an impact on the show. One thing we do find interesting is in her back card story on the toy as well as in the comic, she has a very strong connection to magic. Particularly, she has a magic wand that lets her do various spells like turn random ponies into Pegasi.
Did you just say she turns random ponies into Pegasi?
Yes. Yes, in her back card story, she can do magic.
Can she do it to? Oh, hang on. Can she do it to unicorns?
She only did it to an Earth pony, so I'm not sure if she could do it to.
Oh man, they totally missed the opportunity to have her be the first to create an alicorn.
Yeah.
You totally missed that. But I'm with you on that, Al. And the fact that this is an opportunity that I wish they will tackle in Friendship is Magic is the fact that an Earth pony can still study magic one way or another because she created her own wand to do unicorn magic. So that is something I wish Friendship is Magic would do. I'm still hoping for that.
Yeah. But in the series, they did. She didn't have a wand, but she did have a good luck collection.
Yeah, good luck charm collection.
Yep.
Right, and she seemed to have a sixth sense when it came to luck. Like she said that the haunted garden was just full of bad luck.
Yeah. So let's move on. A bit of a lightning round here, because like we said in the very beginning, there's just so many characters, and I would like to talk all about them in detail, but we just don't necessarily have the time to do that because we only have an hour and a half. So let's go through the rest of these a little more quickly. Okay, we have Buttons, a unicorn who just a bit of a trivia. When we saw what's her name from Rarity Takes Manhattan? What was her name? No. Her boss. What was her name? Sorry Polar Mare. Yeah, Sorry Polar Mare had buttons for a cutie mark, and I thought that was a huge missed opportunity to have buttons be brought into Friendship's Magic. We have Gingerbread, who, as you could obviously guess, is a baker. And moving on. Masquerade. Again, judging by name, she likes to disguise herself in several different things. And there's something else I want to say, but I'm going to have to save that for later. Whizzer, who is a fast talker. And I get the feeling she was the inspiration for... I know probably none of you care about this, but I get the feeling she was the inspiration for Thistle Whistle in Generation 3. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, she's the pony's answer for.
She just talks rampantly. So again, these characters in the lightning round again don't really have as much screen time as the others. They're sort of the side characters of the series, if you will. So there's not much to talk about. Next is Ribbon, who I can't really say much in terms of what her character is, but I just love her design. That's all I can really say.
Nice. And she has a ton of telepathy, so special talent.
Was it? Yeah, it is touched upon in the series that she has telepathy, but not much is done with it, and I would like to see more of that. This series only had 2 seasons, 65 episodes in total, including the 2 specials and excluding the movie. So if they were given at least a 3rd season, I think we would be given these characters would be given a little bit more depth. But at the same time, I'm not sure if they would, considering that back in the 80s they were definitely more toy savvy. So whatever new ponies that were out there, they would put them in the show instead of just having a few to focus on. Anyway, we have Lickety Split, who I don't have much to say except she's in Lover of Ice Cream, and the fact that her baby counterpart is awful.
She also talks like her nose is always stuffed up because she's always eating.
Yeah, she has a very I don't want to mock it. Sorry. Yeah. Lofty. I can't think of anything to say for Lofty, so except the fact that she likes to fly high. High is whatever goes high. Cupcake, pretty much very similar to Gingerbread. She likes to bake, and in this picture, she has a cake with her to a festival. Any comments? Oh yes, someone's commenting. Yeah.
I think we get a little information on Lofty.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, if any of you have anything to add to these characters that we haven't, go right ahead.
Sorry, I grew up with G1. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know.
Lofty, her back card makes her out to be kind of a trickster. She likes to play pranks on ponies, not very dangerous ones. And in fact, the story that comes with her is that she one day had a high-flying hot air balloon, which is why she's got the mark. Because she can fly really high in the mountains, where she likes to balloon her friends around so they can fly too. And she flew them through a rainbow, and they all changed colors. And oh my God, isn't this a wonderful prank? And unfortunately, unfortunately in the series, she had the baby pony attached to her, and all of those mommy ponies and baby ponies, just the mommies were mommies, and the babies were, they had the characters. So
yeah, that's a bit of a shame, man. We'll get to the baby ponies in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to them. Cherry's Jubilee, not much to say. She's just had a couple appearances and not much else beyond that. So, any comments from either of you?
She takes care of the orchard.
She takes care of a cherry orchard. Yeah, she also technically appears in Friendship's Magic. Honestly, I just remembered that. Thanks for reminding me. And the last one here is Twilight, who has only had 1 episode, The Flight to Cloud Castle. The only reason why I include here is because I could not think of anyone else. And also I wanted to point out that there were 3 different ponies in this generation that had the Twilight's name. There was Twilight from Rescue at Midnight Castle. There's this Twilight, who some people out in the fandom like to call Pegasus Twilight. And there's even more Twilights beyond that. So Twilight's a very common name in this franchise. I don't know why. Moving on. Flutter Ponies. Who wants to talk about this one? Because this should be fun.
Yeah, Meet My Little Pony's answer to Tolkien's elves.
Pretty much. They're pretty much just elves. Lord of the Rings elves. That's essentially what they are. They like to be left alone. They're very pure. they're very delicate, but they also have a very strong power within them. In this case, it's utter flutter. What they do is that they beat their wings to spray some sort of magic dust that it is as weird as it sounds, honestly. Yeah, in the movie and a couple times in the series, actually. So, yeah, right here they defeated the Smooths with this. They wore down Erebus with this. And let's talk. And there are 3 flutter ponies I wanted to talk about a little bit in detail. The first is their leader, Rose Dust. She's very I guess you could say diplomatic. Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's sort of xenophobic. She doesn't want to. But
yeah.
Very diplomatic atmosphere.
Yeah, she just likes to address the issue at hand. She has very little self-concern. She is a good leader, though she mostly just cares about her own kind rather than others. So
Ponies initially with the Smooths, and then later when she had a chance to prevent the Witches of Gloom from attacking Flutter Valley, she chose not to, and she regretted that later. So she
we'll get to that in just a minute. This is going to be fun. Next is Honeysuckle, who in my opinion is the best flutter pony. She's very suspicious. She always suspects someone else is doing harm, and nobody listens to her because everyone is too nice. She's like a bit like Gusty. She's the realist of the group. So
the tough guy on the flutter.
Not as much as tough guy, but also just very. Actually, she is tough. She actually does take aggressive action when necessary. So she's really cool. Next is Morning Glory, who is the complete opposite of Honeysuckle. She is a pure pacifist. It's so hilarious. In the episode The End of Flutter Valley, there's a scene where the Witches of Gloom try to attack them with a rock slide or landslide or whatever. But it backfires them, and then they run away and everything. And Honeysuckle suggests we should go after them and take care of them because who knows when they will attack again. And Morning Glory, and I'm serious, she says this. No, we shouldn't do that. They didn't mean to harm us. And all 3 of us, I think we can say, laughed at that scene. I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. That's the equivalent of a terrorist bombing and saying they didn't. It was just an accident. No, that's not how life works. So Morning Glory is very sweet and likable, but at the same time, she's also a little stupid. If not to be rude, but yeah, she's very pure, like pretty much to a fault.
In a later scene, she's captured. She's in a cage, and her guard, whose name is Sting.
Yeah, Sting.
She actually defeats him, quote unquote, by befriending. So that's how she rolls. She doesn't defeat her, at least she tries to befriend her. But if an open-minded one befriend her back, then it backfires on her.
Yeah, and that was kind of neat. And technically, he didn't even start out. I mean, it's like at first she thinks that she's won him over, and as soon as she lets her guard down, he grabs her and throws her back in the cage.
That was hilarious. I love that.
He's still more loyal to his queen than her, so she got herself into a lot of trouble. But I mean, she was the one who convinced the Flutter Ponies to help the Dream Valley Ponies fight the Smooths in the first place. So
that's right.
Simply put, she is really likable, and I really do admire, and I think it's actually good that she's this sweet and really not wanting to do anyone any harm. But at the same time, that can definitely be done to a fault, especially if someone quite literally tried to kill you. So, last quick comment: do either of you care about Morning Glory and Sting's quote unquote connection with each other? I think it's safe to say some people do ship them. What would you say? I know Al is probably not a fan of that, and I'm not that much into it either. What would you say, Starbat?
I just never really liked Sting's design, frankly, so I didn't.
He has a funny design, honestly.
And also, Michael Bell, why did you give him the same voice as Zan, the Wonder Twin?
Who knows? All right, and these are the other 3 Flutter Ponies that had an appearance in the series, but there's not really much to say. There's Lily, there's Peach Blossom, there's Forget-Me-Not, who's ironically the most forgettable of the 3. So there you go. So not much to comment on them. They're just sort of there. as fodder.
Well, Peach Blossom kind of established herself as kind of like a win whistler in Return of Tamblon. Uses big words, tries to think more logically, but yeah, other than that.
Kind of a deep British accent.
Yeah.
Forget me not, she actually does a fairly active role in Return of Tamblon as well. It's really Lily who's most forgettable because she has not a single line in the entire series.
That's yeah. Now we come to the princess ponies. These ponies do not live in Dream Valley. They live in a separate land, an oasis type of area called the Royal Paradise. And this is also interesting because this is one of the very rare examples in this franchise. I guess you could say just in girls' entertainment period that Queen is the topic of discussion that does not center around a villain. Would you say so?
Well, sort of. It's sort of a point of conflict between them.
Yeah, it is. The whole point of them is that they're trying to figure out who should be queen.
So, I mean, this was the franchise that at the time, they did have a queen in Majesty. Granted, never showed up in much American media, but was she prominent in British media. Speaking of which, the Princess Pony would probably be better discussed by their comic counterparts, due to the fact that they were more well developed by the UK comic than they were by, unfortunately, what ended up just being a single story in the series.
Yeah. And ultimately what they do decide in the end, spoilers, though it's not really a huge deal to be honest, because it's the journey that matters in this kind of episode. They decide to take turns being queen. So, and they of course guard magic wands that control all the magic in all of Ponyland. So, there you go. That
throws the whole land into chaos. And
yeah, we'll get to the villain later on. Alright, so, and that's their names. There's Tiffany, Starburst, Royal Blue, Primrose, Serena, Sparkle. And a quick question is, who voiced Tiffany? Because she sounds familiar. I know I've heard her somewhere else.
Cass Sochi. She also voiced Janine in the Real Ghostbusters seasons, and Sally in the Sonic Saturday morning cartoon, among a whole bunch of others.
I may be thinking of something else. And I think I can't remember if Al mentioned this, but these are all their American names. They were given different names in the UK.
Tiffany was Pearl, Royal Blue was Sapphire, Primrose was Ruby, Starburst was Amber, Serena was Aquamarine, and Sparkle was Amethyst.
I'd say Serena and Tiffany. I mean, none of them really have that very distinct personalities, but I would say Tiffany and Serena have the most
screen time
personalities.
Yeah. Tiffany and Serena particularly Tiffany does have some stand-up moments because they actually do have more screen time than the others. So that's interesting to know. Sea ponies. I don't think anyone in this room doesn't know who they are.
I had a sea pony.
Oh, that's great to know.
So I had a sea pony that I used it as a bath toy.
Yep. Hope we get to see those soon.
Oh, that is the one thing I would like to see. Definitely.
Oh yes, definitely. I agree. It's the Shooby-Doo. Everyone knows the song. Even people who hate G1 know this song, and we're still holding out for them. And it wasn't until this season until we finally got an episode in the ocean of all places, and we still haven't found them yet. But we're still holding out. I can't really comment on them because it's all about the song. That's what everyone knows about them. Every time they appear in the series, they will quickly sing that lyric, "Shooby-Doo," as a greeting and as a departure. Yes. And one thing that I'm surprised it was never brought up again, was the seashell that they give to Megan to call them. It was only used once and it was never used again, so that's missed opportunity.
The actor was used twice. She also used it to call the baby sea ponies in the Ghost of Paradise Estate.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah, you're right. I think I may have forgotten about that.
Yeah. And then I think, well, this is kind of a very minor issue, but it's the two particular characters, Sea, Shimmer, and Surf Rider, who was ponies to find the Penguin Fortress in.
Yeah, they were one of the only ones that to actually really be given a name because there are more with names, but none of them really stand out there. The sea ponies are at their core just a group. That's essentially what they are. It's a species, not as much a set of characters. So.
Well, also part of the issue was obviously being sea ponies and being fully aquatic. They can't go on land.
Yeah, they can't.
Basically, the only stories that would involve them heavily would be those that have to do with water.
Yep.
They had one episode goes to Paradise Estate, which had anything to do with water.
Yeah. And of course, the magic coins, in which all the water dries up and they're on the brink of death. I'm not joking. They literally are almost dead. So, next, baby ponies. Do we want to talk about these? Does anyone want to talk about them? Let's try to be quick. There are three different kinds of baby ponies. There's the normal baby ponies, which not in the series. It's never explained in the show, but in the comics, they were created by a magic mirror that just made duplicates of the main characters as children. So take that however you will. That it's very strange, honestly. And there's of course the first tooth ponies, who I am not a fan of, because they're basically just the baby ponies again, only with a tooth and annoying voices. I don't like them. Thankfully, they've only had 2 episodes. And there's the newborn twins, which don't really have a personality, but what do you expect? They're babies. What do you expect them to do? Yeah, that's my defense for Flurry Heart. Just everyone's like, "Oh, she's a Mary Sue." Like, what do you expect her to do? She's a baby. What do you think?
The baby's names, I think, are Sipples and Snookums, and Milkweed and some Tumbleweed. And there's some conjecture that Sipples and Snookums
and
the offspring of Slugger and Buttons. Milkweed and Tumbleweed are the offspring of Tex and Truly.
Yeah, and if you hate broken English, you'll hate these characters because throughout the series they talk normally in the 2 specials and the movie, but in the series they just revert to broken English. So if you don't like that, you're not gonna like these characters. And the only first tooth pony that I have any memory of is Quackers, because she sounds like Donald Duck.
Yeah, she has that quack, that's a vocal tick that makes her sound like a duck on occasion.
That's pretty much it. So moving on. Big brother ponies. These are the, as far as my knowledge goes, these are the only stallions in the series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, aside from Reggie.
Unless you count Rep, which we'll get to later. But other than that, yes, these are the only stallions in this show.
That's fine.
Anything to say about them? I mean, I know you two are not particularly fans of these guys. I honestly kind of like them. I like the novelty of these characters, even though they're not that deep to be honest. But I find a bit of charm in them because it is interesting to see stallions in a series in a show that many people assume is just all girly and nothing else. Though there's many more reasons to dispute that outside of Big Brother Ponies, to be honest. So yeah. Let's talk about them in detail. There's Steamer, who likes trains. I like trains. Quarterback, who's a football player, or I guess you could say hoofball, even though I'm not sure if that's been invented yet.
Is it quarterback or is it score?
His name is actually Quarterback. During season 2, they had issues with naming, back with Princess Pony, Sparkle was called Lilac on one occasion. It was probably the prototype name, and it was probably the same thing with Quarterback. And also, I hate the American names for the...
Force Speed. That's his actual name. Force Speed. It's the only character I can think of that starts with a number in his name.
Yeah.
Salty is a sailor. Tex is a cowboy. Slugger is a baseball player. Force Speed is a truck driver. Is that what it is?
Stereotypical boy things.
Yeah. I still kind of like them. Like, they're not necessarily good characters, but I still enjoy watching them. And I do enjoy the episode Somnambula, even though it's not the best one, but I still do like it. So, moving on. These are the ponies we can't talk about in detail, but these are the ponies that are exclusively in Rescue at Midnight Castle. I would like to talk about them in detail, but they only appeared in this special and nothing beyond that, which is sad. because some of these are actually really cool. You all know the first one. That's Firefly, the inspiration for Rainbow Dash, and the inspiration for Lauren Faust's DeviantArt page, Firefly. So, yeah, she is Lauren Faust's favorite, right?
Yeah.
I believe
she
so.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
She was based upon like Rainbow Dash on her. Why would you curse her with such a burden?
For all those who don't know, Al is not a fan of Rainbow Dash. Not a fan of Rainbow Dash at all. I'm not the biggest fan either, but Al definitely isn't. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, you there. If you're a Rainbow Dash fan, no offense. Bowtie. I think she's really cute. I love her design. Just the two bow ties. Applejack. One of the very few characters to come into this series virtually unchanged.
I think she was in all this generation. Applejack and Prince everywhere.
Hold on, she wasn't in G3, was she?
Yes, she was.
Applejack was in G3? Was she? Applejack was in G3. I did not know that. Thank you. Was she in G2?
I don't think so.
Odd.
Cupcake in every generation.
There was a cupcake in every generation.
Yeah, Cupcake's the enterprise of My Little Pony.
There's Twilight, the inspiration for Twilight Sparkle's mother. There's Ember, the first baby pony. We have we have Glory, who looks like Rarity, but I'm not sure if she has the same personality. And she has. Is there anything to say on her roller skates?
That was a piece of a Ponywear set that was released that year. It actually came with like a headband and a saddle and everything. They put the roller skates on her and had her skate around for reasons.
Last four. There's Moondancer, who is the inspiration for Moondancer, who's I think is a great character in Friendship is Magic. We have Medley, Cotton Candy, and Bubbles. I always found it kind of odd that Bubbles is kind of a different breed, would you say? Because of the spot on her muzzle?
Well, yeah, only two ponies, Bubbles and Seashell, which were released this year, had the blaze. Bowtie and Applejack also had the freckles.
Yep.
But unlike the blaze, which ended right then and there have been other ponies with freckles throughout G1.
Now there's the exclusives from Escape from Catrina, the second special in the series. Sundance, who is a great jumper but not a great lander. Sparkler, who is apparently the inspiration for Rarity. Is that true?
Yes.
I think it's just it is for two reasons. One, her love for gems, and second, her cutie mark, which goes without saying. Powder, who is... How would you describe Powder?
Powder was kind of a break on Sparkler, who really got hypercritical of Sundance and her clumsiness throughout the thing. Again, because it was just one special, they weren't really able to do much with these ponies. In the UK comic and other media, where Magic was making snow and manipulating snow, like he could literally build Snow Replica Dream Castle.
Sweet.
She was the one that escaped from Katrina's ice storm.
Oh, that's actually a bit of it. That's a detail I overlooked, actually. There's Skydancer, who is the most colorful of the series.
Yeah.
And then you have Starflower, who is also very colorful and looks bizarrely like Ribbon. I almost got confused, actually. And the only worthwhile baby pony in the series, and that's Baby Moondancer, who was given the Rainbow of Light, which is their means of protection, to wear to... Al still thinks that's a stupid idea. Oh, that was great.
And she has nothing to wear, even though she's in a wardrobe full of costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I've been able to look at the pantry full of food. I just can't think of what to eat. So that's what I could. It's not so much that there's nothing there; it's just you couldn't come up with any ideas.
All right, so that's all we got on the ponies. Yeah, there was quite a lot of them actually. Now here's one that's a little more brief, and that's the allies of the series. So, the only ones we're going to go into details are the ones that have recurring appearances. The one that has only one-off appearances, we're going to be a little more brief on because we don't have that much time. Megan, I'm sure you all know who Megan is. The
Pony's dead mother.
Yep, she is the central human character in the series. She was pretty good in Rescuing Midnight Castle, and she was also not that bad in Rescuing Escape from Catrina. But in the movie and especially in the show, I think she's been downgraded. Honestly, so that's a real shame because I definitely saw. But just the concept of having a human world and a pony world so much advantage could be taken. I mean, even Equestria Girls kind of squanders this, and that's baffling to me. I don't understand why they don't take advantage of this. So, just that it kind of annoys me. Though I do like the voice they gave her. Both Tammy and Bettina, I think, did great as Megan. So, especially her singing voice, I think, is actually really good. So, she's a horse rider, and one thing to comment on, and as you can tell in the 3 pictures, she's had 3 different wardrobes throughout the series. The first one is from Rescued Midnight Castle, the second picture is from Escape from Catrina, and the third is from the movie and series. Which one is your favorite, and which one's your least favorite? It's unanimous. It's unanimous. Her TV show, the one on the right, I think, just looks silly. I wish they kept to the Rescue Midnight Castle because she actually looks like a horse rider of someone who takes care of a farm.
Ironically, it's the one on the right that is based on an actual outfit Hasbro made for her.
Yeah, I know, and this is one of the instances in which Toy Making actually got in the way of this series. Danny is, there's not much to say on Danny. Let's move on to Danny, who actually, ironically, has more character than Megan, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually stands out quite a bit, because he is sort of a stereotypical boy, but at the same time, he actually does have some very useful, clever moments. He doesn't dismiss this whole pony thing. He totally is into Ponyland, and he's really interested in it. So
more so than Megan.
Yeah, more so than Megan, honestly. That's actually really odd.
He's kind of more interactive with Surprise, kind of like the best friend of Surprise.
Yeah. I heard even Jen Blake, who's here at this convention today, likes to pair Danny with Surprise. I've seen some pictures of her, and they're actually really cool. They're actually kind of cute. So if you haven't seen them, go look those up. Those are cool. Those are really cool. Molly, who somehow has less character than Megan. How is that possible?
She's another baby pony with such a uniform.
Essentially, yes. She has a couple moments, but not enough to really talk about. Like, the only real noteworthy moment I can remember about her is that she actually is good friends with Shady.
Yeah.
And helps comfort her when she starts feeling, there's no other word for it, depressed.
That's right. She's had that one supportive moment in that one episode.
Yeah, the Glass Princess. So, moving on.
She had probably had a moment.
Spike was in every generation except G2, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, shoot, I forgot about his personality. Wow, I messed up. I guess we'll have to improvise. So,
comic relief.
He is a comic relief, but he does have his moments. He actually does have his own episode, Spike Search, which we'll get to in a bit. People either love him or hate him for his voice. If you don't like that voice, you won't like him. But I actually do like him. I like him in both generations, actually. Quite equally, actually. I think he's pretty good in this generation. G4 gives him a little bit more depth, which I am very grateful for. And honestly, would you say your favorite rendition of Spike is in G3? where he's very he's very majestic and very proper.
And voiced by Vegeta.
I forgot about that. So yeah, that's Spike. It's good to see him back in Friendship is Magic, and I think he was really good in this season. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, you.
Isn't the Spike from G1 also the same voice for Cow and Cow and Chicken?
Charlie Adler?
Yeah.
Was Charlie? I haven't seen Cow and Chicken. Was that Charlie Adler?
Yes.
Yep, that's him.
Did all the voices in Cow and Chicken.
It's amazing. The Moochick and Habits. Moochick is kind of an odd character because I put the question mark there in front of a gnome because he's apparently a gnome, but I can't really say because they never confirmed this, but I'm just going to assume he is. So, and also he is apparently voiced by Charlie Adler in the series. He was voiced by Tony Randall in the special and movie. His magic is very hard to describe because it's very out there, which makes sense considering he lives in a mushroom.
Yeah, it's sort of very versatile, but he's such an absent-minded, bumbling character that he's only,
Yeah,
pulls enough information forward and then leaves.
He essentially would be Star Swirl if he was alive, or supposedly. Who knows where he is?
Kind of a source of exposition.
Yeah, he's the source of information. That's what you go to him for.
Yeah.
And Habit is his lackey, his assistant, who may be the inspiration for Angel Bunny, honestly, because Habit multiple times just gets exasperated at the Moochick, at his absent-mindedness, and just gets annoyed at him. And that is fun, and for some reason he's had like 3 different designs in this series. The one with the overalls is him from Rescue at Midnight Castle. The brown rabbit was him from some episodes, and the white one I think was from the Magic Coins. Was it? I think it was. Yeah. So he's had like 3 different designs, and that's odd. So, and he of course doesn't speak, which is great. Again, more inspiration for Angel Bunny. Now for the Bush Woolies. Who likes the Bush Woolies?
I guess they're supposed to be cute.
Yeah.
They are cute, but they can be annoying too. It all depends. I like their appearance in Escape from Catrina, which is their debut appearance. But beyond that, I honestly didn't like them as much. I loved them in Escape from Catrina, not quite as much in the rest of the series, or especially the movie. I didn't like them in the movie.
They shot a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gag is that they always agree with each other. Whatever last opinion is stated, they'll agree to it. Like you could say, they would be great at a cult for Kool-Aid, wouldn't you say? Because they'll agree to that, no matter what they know. And they apparently have a leader, but it's never really made clear. In the Escape from Catrina, it's clear he's a leader. In the series, it's not as much. And one flub up that they did in the end of Flutter Valley is that they were trying to give them names like Wishful was one of them.
Yeah. And that kind of defeats the purpose of their original nature.
The idea is that they
gag and then always have kind of hide mind. They're always agreeing with the last stated opinion.
Right.
If you give them individual names, personalities, mind that.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, but the issue was they were trying to make different characters out of them because they were making Bush Woolly toys to go with Princess Ponies. And the toys each have their own name. There's Friendly, there's Wishful, there's Huckster. So they'd be paired with the Princess Pony. By the way, the UK also did that better because they gave the Princess Pony baby dragons like Spike.
Yeah, so let's move on to another lightning round for the allies because there's a lot of them. There's Scorpan. I'm sure all of you know who Scorpan is. I'm still waiting for him in Friendship is Magic. Why hasn't he come back yet?
I know.
Yep, he was originally a prince who... I loved Al's review on Rescue Midnight Castle because he calls him the Burger King Jr. Is that? Did I say that right?
No, Burger King King.
Burger King.
Burger King wasn't the...
It was. Did the Burger King even exist at this time? At this point of time?
No, he didn't.
Oh, so the Burger King was inspired by Scorpan. Yeah, so it is great to see him mentioned in Friendship is Magic. I'm still waiting for him to come back, but we'll see. Rep, aka, in my opinion, the first changeling. He can change into whatever he wants. And at one point even turns into a pony, which made me discuss whether or not that technically makes him the first stallion.
He didn't have the first transvestite show.
Oh boy, yeah. That is that's the stuff that you don't want to look into too much. Yeah, he has a close connection to he has a very close connection to Catrina through a song which I think was great, and what was cut in the TV airing, which I think was big mistake because that was that special was great with that was great, and they cut out the best part. So it is kind of funny that Rep multiple times says that Catrina really isn't that bad. You'll get used to her, but eventually he even sees that she is a psycho who's addicted to drugs, which we'll get to later. Pluma and Ruff. Pluma and Ruff are both of a race of shape-shifting birds. Wow, why are there so many shape-shifting characters in this series? I've just noticed. They're called, how do you pronounce this? Penna?
Penna.
Yeah, Penna. They're a group of majestic birds that can change shape. Pluma turns into a ghost to scare away the ponies out of Paradise Estate in order to get a flash stone to help save her grandfather, who is Ruff. The first picture that you see there is him in his youth, and in the latter picture is him as he has aged, which there is night and day in this, because really they look nothing alike.
But he's still, kind of harsh.
Yeah, they.
Great,
Yep.
Kind of stole Pluma a little bit in a way that I felt too mean, but other than that, he's a good character.
Grundles. I don't like Grundles. These two do. I don't like Grundles. I find them annoying.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good. They say this so many times it's annoying. They're okay in the show. Like they're actually one of the only characters outside of the witches that actually appear in the show and the movie. I like them okay in the show. I didn't like them in the movie because the movie they're just annoying. I hate that song that they sing. Grundle's good, Grundle's good, Grundle's good, and their leader is voiced by Danny DeVito, who got top billing in the movie, which is weird because he only appears in the last third of the movie, and he only has a few lines of broken English. That's all he gets, and he gets top credit. What is that all about? That confuses me. Yeah.
Well, also I think he was a package deal with Rap Roman.
Wait, what was that this part?
I said he was probably a package deal with his wife, like Reap Perlman, who voiced Rika.
You told me this before, and I forgot. That's interesting to note. Crab Nesties. I actually like the Crab Nesties. I think they're really cool. They're very stone faced. They're very unemotionally driven. They just do their job. Like there's some criminals, we have to take them out. They're in my opinion good cops, if that makes any sense to you. And the leader is a yeah. Go ahead.
Let's call what they really are. They're the yellow crabs.
Right.
Yep. And
voiced by Pure Cullen's Optimus Prime.
Yeah, he sounds a lot like him. So, moving on. The Mountain King, a sentient mountain, or has some other people would like to call him his elevated eminence. Yeah, his elevated eminence. He's just a mountain that can speak. And I actually really like his presence in the series, because they actually go inside him in order to take out the Heartstone that gives him emotion and life, in order to change Crunch, which we'll get to later. I don't know who his voice is. I asked Al who his voice is, and he doesn't know either, but his best bet is Michael Rye, solely based on someone else from Gummy Bears. So that's all I can say. Dinah. There's so much I want to say about Dinah, but I have to wait until I actually get to the episode about her. So much to say. She's basically just a giant puppy. A giant house-sized puppy. That's essentially who she is. And she eventually is found and returns to her family. At first, some of the ponies don't like her because they think she's annoying. She eats them out of house and home. She causes a ruckus, as you'd expect. But after a whole full year and she's grown up, she leaves, and some of them really start to miss her. But we'll get to that later. Here's our more, but we can't really go into detail. There's Nightshade, Drudge, Garth, Furbobs, which Al absolutely despises.
Right.
They're basically the anti-Bushwoolies. They disagree on everything. There's Puck, who is based on a mythical legend, honestly, a sprite that I'm not sure how accurate is. And there's Woebegone, the ever so unfortunate. I always liked Woebegone, to be honest. Al is not a big fan of him, but I liked him quite a bit. What would you say, Starbat? Did you like him? Did you like Woebegone?
It was nice enough. It was he's kind of like shady. Wasn't.
He's shady times 10.
Yeah. And then he brings all this battle on himself.
Yeah.
The whole story of his episode.
Yeah. Kind of a shame that he should have gotten some more interaction with Shady. I think that would have been really interesting. Yep. Now on to the world, and this is a very, very, very rich world.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go back. Ponyland, aka Dream Valley. Ponyland is basically just this whole world as a whole, and Dream Valley is just this grasslands that they live in. It's what connects them between their world and the human world.
Well, the Rainbow Bridge connects the human world to Ponyland.
Yep, and we'll get more of the nits and grits of it in just a moment, because it's inhabited throughout many different regions. It's inhabited by many different races and nations and so forth. And it's kind of interesting that as rich as Friendship is Magic's world is, as rich as Equestria is, it's kind of like what I said before. Ponyland has more, but it's not quite as developed, while Friendship is Magic has less of a world, but it's a little bit more developed. Depending on what you would just say.
Yeah, there's no central civilization in Ponyland. It's just
No, it's not. Yeah, Ponyland is not the heart of everything like Ponyville or Canterlot is. It's not America, which Al likes to call Equestria.
It is America.
Pretty much, yeah.
Little fiefdoms of little gnome and elf and I think human little kingdoms that have their own little queens and princes, and they're kind of in a isolated and otherwise wild world.
Yep. So, Dream Castle, such a cool looking place, very majestic. It's given up in only 2 specials. It only had 2 specials. In the movie, it's gone. That is a shame. Because we see the inside in Escape from Catrina, and it looks so cool. Why don't we get to see more of that? It's given up for what we'll get to next in a moment, but what do you guys think of Dream Castle?
Castle is the pony's home.
It's their home. It's very majestic. It's what every little girl would want. It's a shame it had to go so soon.
It's the medieval fairy tale that's kind of said that I think is most suitable, most suited.
Yep. Unfortunately, in the movie, it was consumed by the Smooths, but after it's recovered from the Smooths, thanks to the Flood of Ponies, it's given to the Grundles, who we only see once again later on in the series. So I think that's a bit of a shame, considering there's not really many Grundles at all. There's only like 5 or 6 of them. While the Ponies, there's like dozens of them. And what did they give this up for? Paradise Estates, which, to be fair, is also kind of a nice place, but it's nothing compared to Dream Castle. It's basically just a large house. It's just basically a large apartment building.
Yeah, that was all fortified. Yes, outside games frequently encounter.
Yeah, and it's like, well, the issue was the Dream Castle play set was very basic because it was one of the first, and Paradise Estate was Federal Pony's answer to the USS Flag of G.I. Joe. It was a very big
home base,
detailed, play set. So it made sense for Paradise Estate to feature prominently. It's just in the series the specials were elevated what Dream Castle was. Dream Castle was a place that was basically just 3 walls and His Majesty's pad. they made it a fortress of elegance and protection and all that sort of thing. Paradise Estate was basically what it says on the tin in the series, and
it works as a toy. It doesn't work in the show as much.
Yeah.
Next is Megan's Ranch, which we don't really get to see much. Like I said before, I'd like to see more interaction between two worlds. We don't get to see that much in either generation, honestly, and that's a big shame. So that's where she takes care of her animals. We see it a couple times, but not much beyond that, so let's move on. Midnight Castle, T-Rex Place. It's really cool. It's from what we've seen in the special, it's just basically just a giant tree that got corrupted. Is that essentially what it is?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, T-Rex's entire realm was a corruption. You know, the castle, the surrounding landscape, even his minions were all corruptions of things that were once beautiful.
Yeah. Next is the Volcano Gloom, where Hydia, Rika, and Drago, the Witches of Gloom, reside. It's where the Smooth comes from. It's neighboring Dream Valley, which I think is very alarming. Makes no sense. Why would you want... It's kind of like Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie lives quite literally next door to Gruntilda. It's weird.
Yeah.
So it's dark and drunk and dreary, just how they like it. Next is Flutter Valley, which we actually do see quite a bit of it in the series, honestly, and in the movie. Yeah, it's basically Rivendell of Ponyland.
Yeah.
I think it got a downgrade in the TV series, because in the TV series, all we really see is just this templeless ruin of an area. While in the movie, we get to see its rich gardens and very elegant, exotic buildings. So, and it's all powered by the Sunstone, which we'll get to later. Tambalon, one of the coolest places in the series.
My favorite place.
Yep, it's where Grogu resides. It's basically just a giant kingdom that disappears and reappears every 500 years from the realm of darkness, and Grogu tries to use this force in order to just take over all of Ponyland. But we'll get to that later. It's a really cool place, very atmospheric, so good.
Yeah.
The Jewel Desert is one of the more kind of interesting ones. It's basically just a desert, but instead of normal cacti, it's crystal cacti, in which here Wind Whistler discovers that you could pierce them and they spray out water, which they use to help them move on.
And it's not just cacti, there are also crystal Joshua trees and crystal aloe plants.
Yep.
Basically, all the plant life in this desert is
crystallized.
Is crystalline. And are we doing the Royal Paradise next?
I think so.
Yep. That's where we're going to next, because I think this is the source of the Jewel Desert, and that's the Royal Paradise, where the Princess Ponies lived, like we mentioned. Sadly, we don't see the inside castle, though. That was strained. We only see the outside, because it's a cool-looking castle. Like, do these show's writers just not like castles? Because first Dream Castle, now this one. It makes no sense. Such a shame that they don't do any of that. And especially being in the middle of an oasis desert, I get the feeling it would have been very Arabian designed. I'm still holding out for Saddle Arabia, by the way. So yeah, we see the oasis. It's a really beautiful oasis. We don't get to see the inside though. So here's some other places, but we can't really go into much detail due to time. Cloud Castle, which is a floating castle that floats away from people that try to approach it. Pretty interesting. The Mushrump, where the Moo Chick lives. So judging by that alone, you can tell why he's so absent-minded. We have Bumbleland, where Queen Bumble and her bees lives. It's frozen over, and yet they somehow survive. Somehow. And the Golden Door, which holds many mythical, legendary characters inside, but we'll get to that later. That's plenty to talk about on that. So that's all for the world. Now, in the spirit of Halloween, we get to the best part, that is the villains. I'm sure this is one of all of your favorites that you wanted to see. Yep, time for T-Rex, who is the first... I actually had a bit of a discussion. Is he the first villain in the entire franchise? And apparently, yes, actually, including the comics and books and whatnot. So he is the first one. And it was kind of cool to see him in G4, though he is very much different in there than he is here. In Friendship's Magic, T-Rex is very bombastic and forceful and powerful, while in this series he's much more creepy, very very low key, very ominous. His introduction is chill worthy. It's so amazingly well done. Go check it out if you can. So yeah, he has the Rainbow of Darkness in his pouch, which he uses to corrupt things, to change things into monsters. And he's going to use it in order to bring an eternal darkness, which was obviously the inspiration for Nightmare Moon. So I don't want to say too much. Just watch Rescue at Midnight Castle. It's cool. Then the second villain, Catrina, who is basically just a drug addict, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, she's addicted to witchweed, which makes her powers surge temporarily, and she is high on that power that she gets from them.
Right. Yeah, and she actually has a backstory with Rep. She used to be close friends with him. She used to be a very elegant lady, but eventually she became hooked to this and just became just a monster, enslaved the bush woolies, and then tried to enslave the ponies as well in order to make them.
Yeah. I think it's possible that we've seen that Rep can change form, but he never used witchweed potion, so I have to wonder if maybe she started using witchweed potion because she was jealous of Rep's powers and wanted power of her own, and started using it, but it twisted her.
That could be interesting. And also, one other thing to note, she is, I think, the first villain in the entire franchise to be redeemed.
Yes.
So for all those who complain about redeeming villains, Catrina is the one that started it. So next is Squirk, another really strange one in my opinion. He's just basically a giant squid octopus tyrant who used to rule Ponyland when it used to be underwater, when it used to be flooded. But after it dried up, he just sort of... I can't talk about this one because Squirk is not my favorite, to be honest, but Al and Starbat quite like him quite a bit.
Well, he's got apparently a really long lifespan because he can live through the centuries where the water recedes and then outlive Ruff, but apparently aging much himself. So.
Yeah. Aging issues tend to be a reoccurring thing throughout this franchise, to be honest. Even in G4, age is not very really well clear. So, and he uses the Flash Stone in order to abuse all those he rules under, and he uses it, and he tries to use it in order to reflood all of Ponyland. And I like his lackey though, Crank. I actually really like him.
Yes.
Because I like lobsters. And now the villain that I'm pretty sure everyone in this room agrees wants to see in Friendship is Magic, and that is Grogar.
I want to see him in Friendship is Magic.
Yeah, Al is very skeptical because he wasn't a big fan of T-Rex depiction in Friendship is Magic. I liked him okay, though. So I would be curious to see what they do with Grogar if they ever decide to do anything with him. But yeah, he created Tambalon, and it's kind of interesting that he is a ram. So, which I don't think there are any other rams in this series, honestly.
Is he a ram or a goat?
I think he's a ram. Look at his horns. What do you think? So, yeah, he just his kingdom teleports one place to another from the realm of darkness, and he's already taken over a race called the Troggles, and he uses them as their slaves. And what's kind of interesting is that he wants to capture the humans too, Megan, Danny, and Molly, just for the sake that they have hands. They have opposable thumbs, essentially, is his reason. His sidekick Bray is both really menacing, but also very annoying because of his voice. He basically just sounds like Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Well, it's the same person, Frank Welker.
Yeah, it is. So, for Frank Welker, I love you, but man, sometimes your voice is... I don't know how your vocal cords stay intact.
I think it's very appropriate for a donkey character.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wonder if they'll bring back Bray, honestly, too, considering he's a donkey, and we've seen donkeys, obviously. Moving on, Crunch the Rock Dog. I think this is Al's favorite villain. Would you say? Or am I...
Yeah, I would have to say, Crunch the Rock Dog seems to take a lot of inspiration from the myths surrounding the golem, because the idea was he was created to be a guard, much like golems were, but he has no heart, which is similar to the fact that golems have no soul. So, since he has no heart and has no compassion or morality, his approach to guarding is to eliminate everything that could possibly be a threat before it can become a threat, which means eliminating everything that everything could possibly become a threat.
Yeah.
So he hates things that are all sensitive.
Yeah, his song is so hilariously bad, though. I love this episode, but man, that song is hilarious.
I hate soft.
Nice is bad. He literally says that. But yeah, he just goes around and tries to turn everyone into stone, which is actually kind of creepy when you think about it, especially when he does it to Gusty. It's really creepy. So yeah, we'll talk about more of this episode later because it's Al's favorite. Levan, one of my favorite villains, because I just love how bombastic this guy is. And I love his design, especially his crystal design, which in my opinion is one of the creepiest, honestly. So I just love his voice. I love his song. It's so over the top. I love it. And he surfs on lava. That's cool.
Oh no, he did.
Yeah, and he flat out dies in this series. He gets blown up. He basically kind of like Sombra, honestly. He has a thing for crystals, and he gets blown up by them. So that's really cool. So basically, power is his favorite word.
Yes, only power matters.
Yeah, I just love this guy just because like he's not a very deep character, but he's fun to watch.
And he also sings the going song while standing in an erupting volcano.
Erebus, who essentially who I think unintentionally was the inspiration for Tyrek in G4, because that's essentially what Erebus does. He steals magic. Tyrek steals magic. Erebus steals shadows from living beings in order to power himself, kind of like how Tyrek takes magic and powers himself, and leaves them as a hollow husk of themselves. Erebus does the same thing. He takes the shadow, and they just lose their a sense of life in anything. Just makes them just feel weak. And he uses the pop star Nightshade, which I mentioned earlier, to lure more and more people to come to him and steal their shadows. And his sidekick Zebra, who, like Zecora, is the only zebra in the series, and he's an anthro. He walks on two legs and wears clothes and everything, which is strange. But he uses it. He uses this satchel, which just sprays out a green puff of smoke that just absorbs shadows. I guess Erebus is what is to Al what Levan is to me. Just a very fun, over the top, menacing villain.
Yeah.
His song again is just not technically it's not good, but it is fun to watch. Yeah, so he is a pretty cool, interesting villain to be say. I wouldn't say interesting, but he is cool. He's a wizard of smoke. What do you expect? Yeah. So, the Witches, everyone's least favorite villain in the series.
Oh,
just nobody wants to see these guys again.
They brought them back at least once.
Yep, they did in End of Blood Rebellion, and they're probably even worse there than they are in the movie. Just. They are fun to watch in some points. Like some of the slapstick can be funny, but at the same time they're also really annoying too. It depends on what you're looking for.
Whatever's nice is bad.
Yeah, they're definitely the most stereotypical bad guy. Just they hate all that is good and they just want bad. That's all they care about. And if any of you seen my promo video? No, on my YouTube channel. No, I didn't think so, but I used them in a humorous manner with Banjo-Kazooie. That was fun.
Actually, it would be hilarious.
Oh, come back.
You just replace her dialogue.
Yeah. One funny thing I'll admit about the Witches of Gloom is the fact that Hydia hates being called Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually the one funny joke in the series is that she hates it when her two daughters, Drago and Rika, call her Mama. Which, when you really think about it, can be a really funny joke when you think about it, considering where they came from. Because as far as we know, she has no husband. Yeah. So the Smooths, another favorite of Generation 4, and I am glad to see him return in Friends vs. Magic, even though Al resents it.
the Quotepedia, it's just not the same.
It's just not the same. The best thing about the Smooths, hands down, is the song. Probably my favorite song in the entire generation. Just that song is so stupidly catchy. I remember coming across it by pure accident, and when I listened to it, I could never unhear it. But they also are one of the most threatening villains in the series. Or not even the series, just the movie. Just a giant sentient flood of goo that destroys everything in its path, and if you were to ever touch it, it'll take away all of your positivity. That's essentially what it is. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, just pure terror. Next is King Charlatan. Actually a pretty interesting villain, honestly. He actually does have a pretty interesting character arc. He's basically, as Starbat would put it, a xenophobe. Yes. And wants to freeze the whole planet, and only those who are able to survive it are worthy of living, and that includes penguins, which, when you think about it, wouldn't freezing the planet just be bad for penguins too? It's fantasy, who cares? But yeah, his basically, as you can see in the picture, he has a cold, icy stare that can freeze things, and he uses a device to magnify it in order to just freeze the world. And what's interesting about him is that is his relationship with his son, Prince Edgar. Edgar resents his father, but Charlatan keeps denying this and telling him that once you're the king, you'll fully understand that this is the way things work. But Edgar ultimately proves him wrong once Charlatan accidentally freezes him. So, yeah, more could be done, but for what we got with only just 2 episodes about them, it's only a 2-parter, 20 minutes. But what they gave, it's actually pretty good. So it is pretty interesting, and I do like his design. Honestly, it's kind of interesting. You would never think that you could make a penguin menacing, but they did it.
Yeah.
So next is the Flores. Speaking of, I think it's unanimous. The Flores are the creepiest, most disturbing villains in the series.
Yeah.
Just what they do to Masquerade is nightmare fuel. Borderline nightmare fuel. Just watch it, and like even outside of that, just the face that their leader makes when she tells them what they intend to do with the crab nesties. Just stop. It's creepy. It's just very ugly. Like even as small petite flowers, they're not really that cute. They're actually kind of ugly. So I don't know. I don't see what Posey sees in them. Yeah, Posey ultimately takes them in, and
he was basically the lead crab nasty says, "Stand down, or I'm going to dismember your leader."
Pretty much, yeah. So, yeah, just the whole point of this episode is the fact that it is the basic, you shouldn't judge things by their appearance, because the Flores, who, according to Posey, are very beautiful, harmless, helpless creatures, turn out to be ugly monsters. Like, as you can see in the picture there, they really get creepy. And let's not even talk about Masquerade again, please. It's so unnerving when they do. Just simply put, you've seen enough hentai to know where this is going. That's essentially what it is. Next is Somnambula, another bizarre villain to me. Is it just me, or why does she remind me of Natasha Fatale from Rocky and Bullwinkle? Why does she remind me of her? I don't get it. It's the design. Essentially what she does is that she lures ponies with Kiri, her bird, which can hypnotize them with her song. Basically what she does is that she lures ponies close to her so she can drain them of their youth. That's essentially what she does. And she lures unicorns in order to drain their magic. So, basic but effective.
And she draws them by playing their deepest desire, or whatever they want.
Yeah, she uses her magic in order to create illusions of what they all love. It's again, probably unintentional, but this might be the inspiration for Discord, honestly. What'd you say? Yeah, I got her. Yeah. Probably not, but it does remind me. These are some other villains, but I can't really go into much detail, but we just have to move along. There's Porcina, Al's least favorite villain in the series. Same goes for the Raptorians, because they appear in the same episode. Og, the giant pet spider of the witches. Beezin, who has magic that can bring inanimate objects to life. And quick trivia, the Mentally Advanced series, Greg actually used him in an episode. That's actually really interesting. Niblick, who isn't really necessarily even a villain. He's more of just a jerk who just wants to just get paid his dues. And the Frazits, who aren't necessarily even villains. They're just a group of entities that can swap your personality. So that's all for the Ponies, Allies, World, and Villains. Now, last bit of we can do here. Let's talk about a few episodes. We've got the Good, the Bad, and the David Wise. That'll make sense in a minute. Crunch the Rock Dog is Al's favorite episode because it centers around his favorite pony, Wind Whistler, who, as we've all stated, just has a really interesting personality. And this episode highlights that. If you want to know more about Wind Whistler and how she works, watch this episode. It's a really good episode. It's a very good character study. It was actually written by Linda Wolverton, who actually went on to write Beauty and the Beast for Disney. So that's really interesting. Very big leap. So wouldn't you say so, Al?
Yeah. Also, this is probably the closest that they can get to survival horror.
It is close.
You know, which I think really plays to a character like Wind Whistler because
she's very reserved. She doesn't play on her emotions.
Well, she's reserved, she's logical, and typically in survival horror, the idea is the most logical character is the one who's able to overcome the irrational threat they face. Partridge is more a force of nature than really a character because the idea is he doesn't necessarily feel.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So
no negotiating with him. There's no overpowering him. He needs to be outthought, and that's why Wind Whistler is the hero of this episode.
What do you think? What do you think, Starbat?
Well, I agree, and it's great to see Wind Whistler able to come forward as the hero in this episode because she starts out as being kind of the underdog before the other ponies who are making fun of her for not having emotions or not being able to express them the way everybody else does.
Yeah, she's basically Spock. She's Spock in the series. So yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, moving on. It is kind of cool to see Wind Whistler grow a bit in popularity in the current fans. Next is Return to Tambalon. Like we mentioned before, there's not much to talk about because everything I've already said before. Grogar is a really intimidating villain. Tambalon is such a cool, creepy, atmospheric place. Go see this story arc. It's really interesting. It's very intense. It's a great sense of action. Now, for all those who say, "But I'm not into adventure. I'm not into action. I'm into more character study." Well, these two episodes might serve your purpose. Spike's Search is, I don't need to say anything. All I need to say is it's basically Dragon Quest done right. I said that because I was not a fan of Dragon Quest. I did not like it. But this episode, I saw this after Dragon Quest, and I'm like, wow, this is just so much better. Because simply for one reason. Dragon Quest implied that all dragons are naturally evil. Spike Search did not do that. Spike comes across this gang of dragons. They do bad things. They steal, they rob, they burn houses down and all that stuff. But then at the very end, Danny, who is close to Spike, says to him, maybe there are other dragons like you that are nice and, decent beings. So much better ending than Dragon Quest. So, and don't worry, we don't hate Friendships of Magic. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be here. We love Friendships of Magic, but we just love to poke fun at it whenever G1 overcomes it. So, Mishmash Melee, basically, take the primary four that we've mentioned, Wind Whistler, Fizzy, Gusty, and Shady, and switch their personalities around. That's what this episode is.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's actually pretty fun. It's really short. It's only one episode, but it's still fun. And oops, I accidentally relabeled them both as episode 55. My bad. Mishmash Melee was in season 1, I think. Sorry.
Especially music, to see Wind Whistler getting her personality swapped with Fizzy's.
Yeah, to see Wind Whistler be all giddy and childish like Fizzy is a treat.
And Fizzy having a vocabulary like Wind Whistlers.
Yep. And Gusty being a coward and Shady being noble and brave. That's all. It's fun stuff. How many of you have seen the movie? How many of you like it? I like it for all the wrong reasons, because this is not a good movie. A very low point of this generation, but it's fun. It's the kind of movie you want to riff on because of just how much nonsense there's in this movie. The pacing is. I mean, to be fair, the pacing in the series as a whole is not the best, but in this movie, it is clearly shown the pacing is terribly bad. It's so wonky. It just jumps from one thing to another so rampantly. Like George Arthur Bloom, who wrote this movie, only wrote for TV. He's clearly not for movies. So the witches are not that menacing. The smooze is pretty much the best part.
Yeah.
And Wind Whistler and Fizzy's portrayal. That's it. Everything else is one thing I wanted to stick to this movie. Just nearly every song is painfully annoying. Outside of the smooth song, and maybe there's another rainbow. That one's actually pretty nice. So anything else to mention on this movie?
Well, just the fact that one of the problems is that it doesn't have a focus on a particular character.
If you can see in the top left picture, up front of the baby ponies is Baby Lickety Split, who is Al's least favorite character in the whole series. Baby Lickety Split is just such a brat.
She kind of starts out as the protagonist, and then it shifts to Megan and Wind Whistler, and then it shifts back again to.
Yeah, and this wouldn't be the first time that Baby Lickety Split causes a problem in the Magic Coin. She nearly causes everyone to die of thirst and burning, literally. I'm serious. Here's another one that's pretty bad. The end of Flutter Valley. You only need to sum up the problems with this episode with one word: padding. Watch Al's review of this episode. It's 10 episodes long. It only needed 4. Half of this episode could be cut, and you would not lose anything. Because now this is gonna tick off Al. This episode is kind of my guilty pleasure. I actually kind of like it because this episode was my introduction to G1. I'm serious. Yeah, just
the Great Rainbow Caper is my guilty pleasure.
Even though I don't like it very much. I thought that one was kind of eh. So, yeah, just if you're morbidly curious, watch the episode. But it is, I think it actually is. It is the longest My Little Pony story in the entire franchise. It's longer than the movie. It's longer than any of the Equestria Girls movies, obviously, and it's longer than any other story arc. It is the longest story in the series, and it does not deserve to be. So, moving on. Here's a couple more that I don't deem as particularly good. The Glass Princess is Al's least favorite episode. Porcina is not. Porcina. They try to redeem Porcina, but you can't do that considering how senseless she is. And the fact that Gusty is overpowered by these 3 idiots so easily. It's just the fact that they just don't kick their butts right then and there. It's a disservice to their character.
And what's sad is that it is such good gift fodder. There's so many bits of animation that are so awesome. It's just and I know Katie Lee said it was actually her
2 more to go. It's just kind of insulting, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just so bad.
Yeah. And the Ice Cream Wars, which I saw, it's not necessarily bad as much as just not much to it. It's just first 2 ponies trying to feed the baby ponies ice cream. These 2 ice cream factories are trying to fight each other with ice cream wharf machinery and tanks and such. It sounds hilarious, but it's honestly not that interesting. It's just weird to me, and it just further shows that I'm just not a fan of the first 2 ponies, to be honest. So, not particularly good. And now for the David Wise. Why is it called the David Wise? Because David Wise wrote some of these episodes that are just so strange. Just not good, not bad, just what do you say to this? The Revolt of Paradise Estate, basically what happens is Beeson tricks the ponies into bringing furniture to life with magic paint. And the stuff that the furniture does in retaliation is so weird. Like in the top left picture, this weight machine is literally watching her as she's working out. You could take this into so many wrong areas. And the buggy at the bottom left, the bottom right, she's the only nice piece of furniture in the series, and it is cute, but at the same time, it's also kind of weird considering that it just has baby, what's her name? Tiddlywinks, was it?
Cuddles.
Baby Cuddles just resting inside her. That's actually kind of weird. It's just, and Beeson is just kind of a non-entity of a villain, to be honest. He's just sort of just, I don't know.
He's a slipper.
Yeah. Through the door. I don't need to say anything. Look at the bottom picture and the right picture. Does that disturb you enough?
Yeah, now we know why Heartthrob so infamous.
Yes, exactly. This is what I was talking about earlier. Heartthrob actually does want to find a human prince to fall in love with. And this prince not only almost kisses her, he starts flattering baby sea ponies. I'm not joking. This happens. Just and the picture on the right. What's her name? What's her name? I forgot her name. No, it's not Cleopatra. Scheherazade. And she teaches baby ponies to basically do exotic belly dancing. Yeah. Yeah, for an episode just about famous literary characters coming to Ponyland, it is kind of fun, but at the same time, it's just so wrong in so many areas. So there you go. And here's a couple more. Somnambula. The only reason this is on the list is two reasons. One, Big Brother ponies are weird in themselves. And more importantly, the way that the ponies age when Somnambula steals their youth, it is body horror. That's Gingerbread when she's aged. That is the point. She's supposed to look ugly and creepy, but ooh, man, it's almost too effective. And the Prince and the Ponies, which is just, I can't describe it. It's such a weird setup.
The Scullery Maid is funny. I have to say that.
The Scullery Maid is actually funny. She has a funny voice. It actually kind of stands out. And yes, as you can see in this picture, her daughter, is it?
Yes.
Wants a pet just like she does as a poodle, and she literally has baby infant ponies on chains. It is just, I almost say watch it. And also just to further cement how weird it is, this is the last new episode in the series. After this is Escape from Catrina just being rebroadcast, so that doesn't count. So this is technically the finale to the series, and that's how it ends. So take that however you will. So, okay, I think that's everything. We would want to do Q&A, but I get the feeling you guys don't really have many questions, and we do have to stop now. When we were putting this panel together, it's just so much, even with so much cut, we didn't have enough time because there's just so much to see in the series. So for all those who are curious in this series, check them out. It's interesting. Some episodes are good. Some of them are pretty bad. Some of them are just, what do you say? Some are just, you want to slap your head after seeing it. So thank you for watching. I'm Doughboy123X, aka Sazelite on DeviantArt, and Starbat.
Hi, I'm Starbat. Thanks for coming.
And Al1701, say your goodbyes.
Yeah, I'm Al1701. See ya.
All right. We'll see y'all there. So enjoy the rest of the con. We'll talk to you all later. Bye bye. I honestly can't think of anything to compare Sombra to. Like, the closest I can think of is Erebus, but
yeah.
Even then,
I think Sombra's pretty much of a unique to G4.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Though, let's just hope to see him again, because he may not be dead.
Who knows? I mean, if anything like comic books, we'll find a reason to bring him back if we need to.
I still got to catch up on the comics. I've only read a few.
Or no, I just mean like comic books in general. Like, whenever a bad guy's dead, Yeah, he's not really necessarily dead forever if you need him back, right?
I don't even read comics that much, but even I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Outrageous way of approaching things.
Beyond just brought back the Joker.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
they'll figure out a way if they need him, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you.